I'm Danny, and this is the Scream Princess podcast. Hello there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Scream Princess podcast. And I'm here today with husband and wife horror power couple Alex and Hannah Churchyard Paterson. How are you both?
Yeah, good,
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
Have you recovered from Horror on Sea?
just about like I'd say like a few days ago, probably.
Yeah.
Just about. So as I record these, they're not going out necessarily, in chronological order. So Horror on Sea has just happened, the film festival that I have mentioned, and I think this is actually going out after the Horror on Sea podcast. So actually that does work. So that was it last weekend? Weekend before?
One of the two.
Yeah.
One of the two. I know it's like time has just flown. This whole January
Yeah,
has
yeah.
literally
I like
flown. The
It's so
Horror on
weird.
Sea premiered Video Shop Tales of Terror 2, Lust and Revenge, but that's kind of the last thing we're going to talk about. So we're going to go way, 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 way back to 20 something.
2016, I think we would be the first one.
2016. So 2016, I think or maybe 2016, I applied via Star Now for a little cameo in a film called I Scream on the Beach. So set in Southend-on-Sea, so a seaside town, which I'm very, very fond of. And it kind of all spiraled from there.
Yeah, it was the sort of 2016 was when we were trying to kind of get the film started, and we decided to start with like the fake film within the film, which is The Decorator. And I think we just, as you say, like we put an advert up on Star Now, and you applied to it, and I think maybe was Banjo like the year before or around that is sort of that sort of time.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was because we just sort of seen that, and then I saw you apply, and obviously we kind of knew you a bit from like sort of seeing you at Horror on Sea and things, and we were like, oh. I think back then we were like, oh, it would be good to have Danny in like a bigger part, but we were
Mm,
like, oh, let's just get her in and do that. But it
yeah.
ended up being that we like shot that in 2016, and then we had a couple of years before we actually shot Ice Cream on the Beach.
That was it. So I did this little cameo as the kind of a film within a film. And then I think we'd seen each other at various horror on seas after that. And then you came back to me and said, well, actually, we could expand the character, still use that bit and kind of watch her film in it and have the character be an actress. And now that character gets more work than I do. I
Yeah.
play a character called Paula Valentine. And not only has she been in your future films from so Mosaic and then into Video Shop, but she's actually spanned other people's film universes.
Yeah.
So she's been in Tony Martin's Witches on the Sand, and I feel like something else. Or was it Mosaic? No, Mosaic.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's like kind of ventured out into her own. Well, I feel like there's competition now.
Yeah, so little did we know
Little
that
did you know. And they're like, do you have any similarities between you and Paula? I was like, well, I look a bit like her. I've actually been asked that in interviews, and I'm like, well, I look a bit like her. Maybe. Similar wardrobes. So then that shot in 2019,
That's
2018,
right. Yeah, 19, yeah.
2019. And I remember filming in was it Southend Football Club or
It was
European Football Club?
what was it, Hannah? It's what do you call those things? They're
Like a
like
working men's club.
yeah, but it was specifically like it was like a Celtic one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a Celtic
Well, pub.
they don't call them gentlemen's clubs, do they? They're like what
I
do you
think
call
gentlemen's
Like a
clubs are
working men's club,
uh,
because the gentlemen's
working
club
men's
are
club?
their
Yeah.
strippers. They're
Yeah.
definitely no strippers.
Uh
That'd have
there
been
were
a
no
different
not that
film.
I saw anyway.
No. And that was like before you guys were married. That was like way, way,
It
was
was
it?
the same year?
Or the
Same year?
same year?
the year after. I
Or
don't
the year, or you should, or one of us.
Oh.
19, so the year after.
Yeah, so we
Oh,
just
okay.
just got married. We just
Okay,
got
so Paula's two bits were like before and after.
yes, yeah. So we
Mm.
weren't married when we started,
And
and
then
then
you
which is partly why sort of Ice Cream on the Beach took ages because Mike got married, that year, the same year
That
as
was your
us.
co-director, Mike Holiday.
Yeah, and we got married, and also our friend Jamie, who helped a lot on Ice Cream on the Beach, and he actually wrote the decorator bit. He got
Right.
married that year, so we had this crazy year of like sort
Everybody's
of in our
wedding.
friendship group. We're kind of it's like
Weird.
kind of us
Yeah.
three, and yeah, we all got married that year, and then we were like best men and sort of bridesmaids and whatever for various So it was a crazy year of weddings.
So it's become quite a family thing then, all the films there, because you've had like your stepmoms coming in to do makeup and your brothers come along to do makeup and everybody's been in to be extras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like that. I think like a lot of filmmakers, like you sort of often you start out by like roping in your family and roping in your friends and things. And I guess we've kind of just kind of carried that through. And
Yeah.
obviously, I think we've like Ice Cream on the Beach. We had like a lot of friends that were like, "Oh, you're making a film, we'll come and help." And they kind of by the end they sort of dropped off. But they're like sort of key people that I guess were always interested. So people like Max and as you say, like Karen, my stepmom, like they actually have a sort of a keen interest in film and working on other people's films. So it's been
Yeah.
nice to be able to kind of like retain them and keep them involved,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, because her car, she's still got the car with the back windows, got this like horror mural of all these horror characters.
It's gone now.
Oh, it's
It's very
gone.
sad. It broke down. It's
Oh
very sad.
no. Oh, that's very sad.
But yeah, that car was amazing. When she like
Turned up
she
randomly.
yeah, she was like, "Oh, do you need a lift anywhere or something weird?" And I was like, maybe. And it was basically because she wanted to
Gonna
turn
show
up
off
in
the car.
the car. Yeah.
Oh, it was a good car.
It was so cool.
So what made you both like, where's your love of horror come from? When did it start for both of you? Because you obviously both loved horror before you met.
Yeah. I've always liked horror. So like even when I was like a kid, like I was the weird little kid who would read like horror and watch horror films and yeah, but as opposed to anything else. So I've always really liked it. And then it's
Can
just
you remember the first horror film you ever watched?
it was The Shining because my uncle was babysitting me and my sister, and we just turned it on. He was like, "Oh, this is good," and I think we were both under 10.
Mine was a Stephen King film as well. I was it and I was 8 and it was in Canada in my cousin's basement and we all watched it together. So I just Stephen King got a lot to answer for, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, I can never remember quite what mine was. I know I saw a Halloween film like on Channel 4 very early on, but I couldn't tell you what Halloween like it was because I was way too young.
Mm.
But yeah, it was sort of I mean for me like it was really to be honest like Karen, my stepmom, she had like a lot of horror VHS and books as well. And it was quite because they had so many, it was very easy to just kind of just watch stuff.
Mhm.
And so I just started watching things from a very early age, things like sort of, like Child's Play, anything that I suppose it was like based on the covers. So like you see Child's Play and you see like Chucky on the cover and you're like, we've got Chucky poster up there.
Yeah.
That's why I looked.
Sorry.
Um,
Yeah.
and then it was things like that early on, but I can't because there was so much because I watched so much. I can never really remember what came first, but it was a lot of those like horror franchises and sort of
Mm.
anything that like the VHS like cover appealed. I saw The Exorcist very early because just because I knew that was one I wasn't meant to watch. So as soon as I could get that, I watched that. So I watched that way too early. But I think by the time I saw it, I just didn't think it was that shocking because I think
Yeah.
I'd already
So that's
seen
what I
quite a
think
few
because I
films.
didn't watch it until like maybe 10 years ago or something. And obviously I've watched
Yeah.
all this other horror since then. So I guess in its time it was really scary, but I kind of found it funny. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't think I'm supposed to be laughing. But obviously what scared people back then doesn't scare people now. Like I've just watched the original Nosferatu and I'd never seen that before. And I was very much like, I get that for its time, it would have been terrifying because, firstly, people weren't really used to watching film. And then it's like, it's a vampire. But I was like, you're obviously not going to get scared by it. I still haven't seen the new one yet, though.
I think as well, like the slight issue with things like that and The Exorcist is they're sort of firstly like they're both like really in the zeitgeist and they've been parodied so much, and you kind of
Mm,
already know those big moments, don't you? Even if you've not seen it
yeah.
before, you kind of know those big moments are coming because everybody knows them. So I think that probably sort of takes away the power from them a bit as well.
You've probably seen the projectile vomiting in
Yeah.
scary
Yeah.
movies.
Oh,
You've seen in The
yeah,
Exorcist
yeah,
or something.
Yeah, and I think as well, like now, like people are kind of pushing the boundaries to like make things more shocking. It's like, what can we do that's more shocking than the last?
sure.
So now it's just like your levels are up, which is why I kind of love the comedy horror. Like I've
Yeah,
never been a fan of like just straight up comedy because I don't like people forcing me to laugh. Like I want to laugh at something that like because I want to laugh at it. But I feel like with comedy it's like contrived laughter. But I think with like horror, you've got good scope to put some comedy in your scripts. Like I think the characters always can have quite a lot of comedy within who they are
yeah,
in horror, and I think that kind of gets the laughs. Like things like Scream, I always say Scream, but it's got the comedy moments, but it's also got the good deaths and it's got the jumps and it's got everything that kind of I feel like you need in a horror film without needing to see anything that's like completely grotesque.
yeah. It's like I like because I love like comedy horror as well. But it's like already, like if you're in a horror thing, it's already like an elevated world, isn't it? So it's sort
Mhm.
of like it, and I think that like comedy and horror go so well together because there's sort of such like audience participation sort of
Yeah.
genres as well. So you kind of, like scaring people and making them laugh kind of thing. And but yeah, I mean, I love that crossover. I mean, generally, like the films I like are kind of, I always think I kind of like things that kind of slightly aren't quite like representing the real world. I'm not too, like it feels like you can kind of look out your window and see or read the news and see something depressing. So I
Mm.
just like stuff that's kind of, kind of takes you out of that and it's like escapism and
Yeah.
things. And I think like like comedy horror is like perfect escapism for me.
So what are your favorites?
My absolute favorite is Evil Dead 2, but I love Scream because that was a great sort of gateway horror film for me. I mean, it came out when I was quite young and I saw it pretty early. Um, and obviously, there's so many references in there, and for a lot of people, they probably, they were watching it and they're like, "Oh, that's a cool reference." I think at the age I saw it, I was like, "Oh, what's that about?" And got to kind of go off and find out what the films were that it was talking about. And I think Scream's probably hugely influential to me as well because I like stuff that's sort of slightly self-aware and will poke fun of itself. And that was probably, even if it wasn't the first time that had been done, it was probably the first thing I saw that did that. So Scream's definitely up there on my list. Oh God, I like so many. I mean, all like the Chucky films, I really love. Um, what else would I say? Like I like, like Giallos, I like Tenebrae, really love. The Descent, I really love. God, there's so many. Go on.
I don't know. I probably like I would say like Christmas horror is my favorite like subgenre.
All right. I heard
Like,
there might be a Christmas horror coming up.
Mm,
yeah,
I
mm,
so
heard
that
there was an idea.
yeah.
definitely.
So
Who doesn't like Christmas horror?
yeah, exactly. Um,
It makes
I,
Christmas more bearable because like Christmas is not Halloween. So it's like we like Halloween and then Christmas comes along. And of course everyone likes presents and food,
yeah,
but you kind of want to make it a little bit horror.
yeah, exactly. I like Halloween. I don't know.
Oh yeah, of course, Halloween.
Halloween. I was
Just
looking.
look
Yeah.
I know I
behind.
love your room. So mine's so plain. Like I want to get some bits and pieces up here. So I've got like an exciting background. But at the moment I'm just like in my studio chilling on my little sofa. But yeah, I feel like I need to have some like merch. And I
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need some
I
posters behind you.
well, I framed one of the Video Shop 2 posters, but I've put it in the living room.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Uh,
have like the three behind my sofa. That's my plan. So I've just gone with two in the middle at the moment. Okay.
Hellraiser as well is a
Oh yeah.
big, huge favorite of
I've
mine.
never seen Hellraiser.
Oh,
Oh, you should really
it's
watch
good.
that.
Is it
That's
actually scary?
hmm. Yeah, I guess. And what I really like about it is there's quite I get this like quite visceral feeling of like seediness from it
Yeah.
and like
The effects have held up really well.
and
Like
the
it doesn't
effects are really
feel
good. Yeah. And I think as well, like it's one of those films where maybe if you don't know too much about it, but you kind of know who Pinhead is, like
Yeah.
who the villain of the film is isn't necessarily
no.
what you think, really. So I remember being really surprised by that when I was a kid
Yeah.
because or maybe I wasn't a kid, but I can remember one. I think it was probably like the fourth one. There was like a standee in the
Yeah.
video shop I used to go to, and then by the time I sort of saw the first one, I sort of had very specific ideas of what that film would be, and it just wasn't. But yeah, I love that. I love that film.
Yeah. There was a
Back
pinhead.
to ice cream. You went to a film school, and you and Mike were both there together, like they're like best friends, and then you decided to direct together. And what I remember about you guys, one of my first thing that I thought was like how calm you both were on set. And I always think if you've got two directors on something, there could be like a bit of an ego thing sometimes. It could be like, one of them wants to take charge or they're going to disagree about things. But you two just worked so well together. And like you never get stressed, or you never seem to get stressed, and everything just seems calm. And it's just like, yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry, everything's just so easy. And I'm like, well, this is a really nice set to work on.
I think it's like it might be a bit like sort of like duck feet under the
Yeah,
water kind of
like a
thing,
swan.
and sort of not wanting to project like our stress or my stress onto others kind of thing. Because I think we were definitely like are stressed at times, but I think like Mike and I complement each other really well, and I think the thing is as well, like probably like in terms of disagreements, we probably iron all that out in pre-production, like in the script kind of thing. So there would have definitely like when we wrote Ice Cream on the Beach be things that I wanted that Mike didn't and vice versa. And we kind of get to that compromise. But I think like by the time we got to like actually making it, we just decided like relatively speaking, I'd kind of speak to the actors and he would be more in charge of like crew kind of thing, which is funny because I've like subsequently like worked like co-directed with others and I've like done the reverse of that. But yeah, with that we kind of made a decision early on, and I think we just both wanted the same thing from it. So it was pretty easy, and it was natural to do it with Mike to do the film with Mike because we'd known each other such a long time, and we met in college originally, which was 2004. It's horrible. So when you realize how old you are.
Mm.
And then yeah, we sort of both after college we both decided to take a year just doing, like I worked at a cinema. I think I can't remember where he worked, maybe the
Theme
Adventure
park,
Island or
yeah.
something.
I was going to say
Which is
that's like the places people have to work if they live in Southend.
yeah, yeah.
Like
So
your
yeah,
rite of passage.
Adventure Island is the like local theme park. But yeah, so I think we both did that, and the idea was we were going to make a lot of stuff in that year. We didn't really, but then we started looking at universities, and we just decided to go to the same university, and we went with Jamie as well, um, and he did a different degree to us, but Mike and I both did the same film degree, um, and yeah, sort of,
It went
and then
well.
and as well, I mean, when we graduated from university, we kind of came back home and we both just took whatever jobs we could. And I sort of started working just a bit before Mike, professionally as an editor, and I got a job at a studio. And when they had a vacancy, I was like, "Oh, I know somebody," and I brought Mike in. So we ended up working together, like professionally working together there for a few years as well. Didn't we? So it's just a lot of, and that's where we kind of wrote Ice Cream on the Beach as well on our lunch
So you
breaks
got
and
paid by your job to write your own film.
no, it's definitely about lunch breaks.
On your lunch break, of course, in case they're watching or listening. So after Ice Cream, so that had the first, I think, sellout at Horror on Sea Film Festival. That was the first sellout. And I guess because Horror on Sea is in Southend and Ice Cream was,
Yeah.
Southend based, we didn't have the two rooms that year, did we? Was it just the one room?
No, it was just the one room. Yeah, I remember they said that like I can't remember if it was Horror on Sea or the Southend Film Festival, but they had another local film at some point that did sell really well as well. But I think I mean don't quote me, but I do think it at that point was the biggest seller that they'd had. Yeah,
I
but
don't
yeah,
think, what year did it premiere? Because I feel like, was I in Texas?
You
I
were
feel like
you didn't come.
I
Yeah,
didn't come. I think I
you
might
had
have been
you
in
had something.
Texas.
Yeah, it was 2020, so it was but just before COVID.
Yeah, I was in Texas in January filming with Joshua Kennedy, who has,
Yeah.
I think his episode just went out this week. So
Um,
yeah, I couldn't make it, but you did send me a link, so I did get to watch it.
yeah, that was like crazy, really, because like I mean, we knew we'd get a lot of people, you know, locally that we knew and stuff, and you know, you sort of hope, but and it was the first one that Ice Cream on the Beach was a Sunday evening as well, not a Saturday evening.
Mm.
So we were a bit like worried about that, but it was, you know, it was packed, and it was just like we'd been going for years, and it was just like, well, for me, it was just amazing,
Yeah.
like to be there and you know to have it sort of sell out like that, and yeah, it was,
And then after that, you went straight into Mosaic,
yes, more or less. I mean,
pretty much.
COVID-y sort of
COVID got in the
kind of,
way of
yeah, like we were we were always gonna do an anthology, and the funny thing is like now I've done so many anthologies, but like I always wanted to do an anthology, so Mike and I were like, oh, we'll do an anthology, and it was going to be something. It was going to be something called Death Waves originally, so not Mosaic. And the idea originally was it was someone doing a radio show, and it was going to be three much longer stories that
Mm.
sort of got tied together. One of which did end up in Mosaic.
Which one was that?
That was the one with Will Jones, who's in
Oh,
Ice Cream on the Beach and is in the lead of Pandemonium.
Was it in the police? Was it a police scene? Was he in a?
The he in Ice Cream, he's one of the police
Oh, he's a
officers.
police officer and I scream.
Yeah, in Mosaic, it's this guy who kind of watches weird tapes that are kind of like people getting chainsawed and
snuff
things.
films, aren't they?
Yeah, they're sort of snuff films, and the killer kind of follows him around his house. It's quite near the end. But that was going to be part of it. But the reason we sort of changed course was because of COVID, because
Mm.
we didn't get to kind of make anything, and we ended up shooting like in a day the allotment with Tony Marden,
Hmm.
which we had you to thank for because you tagged him in the post, as he always remembers. You tagged him in the post when we
Yeah,
were
had
looking.
you not met him at that point? So now,
We we had met. I had met him
yeah,
selling stuff at Horror on Sea, but not
right.
really in sort of like, you know, I hadn't really thought of him in. And plus, I knew he like lived in Kent, I think, as well. So I
Yeah,
just
and I'd
didn't.
done Beyond Fury with him, and I knew
Yeah,
he was dead into his horror. And I think because, and I didn't realize so much until I'd seen that he'd done some paintings of the Beyond Fury poster, and then he showed me all his like horror art, and I was like, oh, he'd be good.
yeah. Because I bought like a
Yeah.
Chucky. He did a like
Like a child's
a
play
child's
through.
play drawing thing with the little boy and Chucky kind of thing. And so I bought that off him at some point at Horror on Sea. Actually, I think he was maybe filming something with you at Horror on Sea when I bought that.
Yeah, it was a
I
pickup
remember him.
shop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because he was all
it's
like,
such a like weird, like incestuous world, isn't it?
"It
Everyone's
is,
like,
yeah,
what are you filming with that? Yeah, it was a pickup shop for Bad Moon Rising, and I wanted, well, I reshot one of the scenes and I kind of recast and I got it shot there. And
yeah."
MJ from Myco, he actually shot it for me. So yeah,
Um,
again, another person from the world.
yeah, it all sort of mixes,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So I'd met him then because I sort of remember he was like covered in like fake tanny stuff. He was like, "Oh, I don't usually look like this." Kind of does,
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
Yeah, do you know what though? I didn't ask him to cover himself in fake tan. It was a character choice he made. I mean, all I said was like, you're a kind of nouveau riche, kind of like you like your rock music, you think you're a rock star, but you're kind of new money and kind of, you know. So yeah, I guess I didn't say David Dickinson to him, but it was brilliant.
That's a decision I can properly like imagine him making
Oh
though.
yeah.
Like,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
100%.
I liked it though. I liked that he went for it.
Yeah, he always does.
Yeah.
That's why I love Tony. He's like he does like throw himself in, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we did the allotment with Tony, which was just we didn't have any money, and it basically needed to be something that was shot outside because of COVID.
Yeah.
So we just shot it in a day, and then Mike and I kind of were talking about could we do sort of an anthology where we could sort of shoot each bit in like 1 or 2 days kind of thing. So lots of sort of shorter stories, and you know the sort of procedural element of that kind of came later, which is what ties it all together. But basically, yeah, sort of lots of shorter things that we could shoot in 1 or 2 days, and we never really intended it to be like any sort of continuation of Ice Cream on the Beach. It was really like kind of came up with, you know, like the one you were in, Sandcastles,
Mhm.
and kind of was writing this character. And I think she was going to be a model originally. And then at some point, I was like, this character just sounds a lot like Paula. And we were sort of saying about maybe getting Danny to play that role anyway. And I was just like, oh, maybe we should just change it to actress and say it's Paula because we've basically just written Paula again.
I love playing Paula. I love that I feel like she's just misunderstood.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean to be such a bitch, but it's really fun to play. She probably
All
does
of
actually mean to be such
cinematic
a bitch,
universe.
actually.
Yeah, well, it is kind of, we kind of do call it the Paula Valentine Cinematic Universe because she kind of connects all
Yeah.
Yeah.
the different films. I don't know why we need to explain why she's alive because she dies in every single one,
Yeah.
but
Like, yeah, that's true. Sometimes you don't need to explain it. Sometimes it's just
nah,
No.
because I feel like with Liam and Banjo and Eating Miss Campbell, there were certain people that came back to play another character, but they died. So it's like, well, they're back playing somebody else. But yeah, I was
yeah,
playing the same character. Like I didn't die, or then I did die in the director's cut, which was later released. So originally
yeah.
alive, then they killed me. Then it's like she's back, and then I died twice in Eating Miss Campbell. So
I quite like that. It's like I think that's like if you ever watch any of like Kevin Smith's films, he has a sort of connected universe, but
mm,
the they have like you know like Ben Affleck plays two completely different characters, but like in some of the films he'll play both of them kind of
right,
thing. And you're just like what? But like it doesn't bother to explain it. I think he also plays Ben Affleck in
Yeah.
one of them as well. So
yeah.
yeah.
You don't have to explain. It's your film.
Nah,
You
yeah,
do what you
exactly.
want. You wrote it. So where can people watch Ice Cream and Mosaic?
They can't watch Mosaic because we haven't released it yet. Because though it definitely was second, it kind of ended up becoming third after
Yeah.
Video Shop. Um, so that's going to be this year for Mosaic. We're going to do a release for Mosaic at some point this year. Ice Cream on the Beach is on Prime. I think in America it's on Tubi. And we do actually get the rights back this year
Right.
to Scream on the Beach because they've been with like a distro for the past 5 years. So we're
Okay.
going to do like our own DVD release
Uh-huh.
as well. So we'll be releasing it ourselves under the sort of Video Dungeon label, which
Right.
is that's also how Mosaic will be released under the
Right.
Video Dungeon label.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back in part two and we're going to hear all about Video Shop. So I'll see you then. Welcome back to the Scream Princess podcast. Welcome back to the second half of the Scream Princess podcast with Alex and Hannah Churchyard Patterson. So, are you suitably refreshed? Have you topped up your drinks? Ready for part two?
Yes.
Seemingly, it's.
Oh, you forgot the most important thing. I always think like if I have a glass of wine on a podcast, it's like how many glasses of wine do I have before I start saying things I shouldn't? So there is that. So I've been good. I've been good today on this one, and I might go out after. We'll see.
I had that on the Romford podcast where we just did that after the screening of Video Shop. Everyone had been drinking so much, I can't bring myself to watch that back now.
So we had so Romford Film Festival also coming up soon. Um, can you remember the year we fell down? I've had Spencer on actually and talked about it. But can you remember the year we fell down the back of the stage?
Yeah, it was the
And he
same.
did
That was the same night.
he did bring up that you did it too. But I'd had a few drinks in the foyer and I was like the last one in. So the screening was full. And then you guys were already all on stage, and I came in last. And like, I literally walked up these stairs, went straight down this hole, and it just looked like a black stage. It didn't look like there was a hole there at all. It wasn't because I had drinks. It was literally, it looked like a, a perfect floor. And then I sat down. I like got up and carried on, styled it out, and then I sat next to you, and you were like, "I've just done the same thing," but I've not seen anyone. Nobody was filming it. There's no video footage of that point, and I
No.
wish I could
No.
see it.
Yeah, my leg was so bruised actually after that. Like I really, I don't think I realized at the time, but I'd really hurt my leg.
Yeah, I feel like I had a bruise on my hip, but surprisingly, I managed just to get up and carry on, and I was actually okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, nobody's posted it anywhere. And I did mention it to Spencer, and I was like, "So at this new Lumiere, are you going to have a better stage?" He said it's going to be a proper floor. It's going to be a better stage. There will be no gaps, no like hazards. But then he actually said, "Oh, you did it too." He said, "Alex did it too, so don't feel too bad." And I was like, "I didn't feel bad, but I actually can laugh at myself. I thought
Managed
it
to
was
style it
funny."
out like you, did you?
No, no, I don't think
Oh,
so. No, I think people
You
noticed.
didn't. Alex didn't manage to style it out
I mean,
when.
I think people noticed I did it too, but I just got up and continued and pretended. I was like, "Don't say anything, don't draw attention."
Oh.
So that was the video shop one premiere,
Well,
was it?
Romford Premier.
The Romford premiere. So yeah,
Yeah,
another part of Essex. So the second screening.
yeah, yeah. It was the second.
So video shop, and I've had Lal on, so we've touched a little bit on how video shop came about. And it was basically Sing Lal putting together a video shop installation at Horror on Sea Festival, and then you guys got chatting, and then a film idea was born.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, like originally, Lau asked me or like asked Tis Films, let's say, to do a segment which, became Mary. So I and that was sort of during lock because I think that kind of conversation, that original conversation was at the 2020 festival where Ice Cream was, and NJ had Pandemonium, and Tom had Day of the Stranger, and
I missed so
Sam probably
much.
had six films. But like, yeah, it was that year. And I started working on Mary kind of over lockdown,
Mm.
and then um, eventually we got Mosaic going, and Lau sort of used to come to a lot of that, helped out quite a lot, took a lot of like behind the scenes pictures. And during that, he asked about the wraparound. We actually shot a bit of it in his house, and that's when he asked. And it was, I think we were shooting that. That was like 2021.
Yeah.
And let's say it was sort of September. And then by the December of that year, we were shooting the wraparound. And he
So you
sort of
got
asked,
roped in. You can't say no to him though, can you? Because he's
no, you can't. He's too
like whatever
nice.
he asks you to do, you know that you're doing it.
Yeah. But he was sort of like, would you be interested in doing it? And then he was sort of like, yeah. And then he was like, what's your idea? And I was like, what? But he had some things in place. So like, obviously it was going to be a video shop. He already had, the owner was going to be like, the sort of proprietor character was going to be like this really old man.
Hmm.
And so when he said that, it kind of opened it up to me because I was sort of like, well, maybe like this video shop then is, there's something actually wrong with it, and there's some sort of seedy underbelly, which is kind of how it came about, really. So that those kind of two ingredients really kind of gave me what I needed. But it was like a mad rush because we were filming Mosaic. I mean, that was quite near the end of the filming, like September 2021, the original, for the sort of principal photography. I think we sort of shot into October, but he kind of had a space that we could film in Romford,
Yeah.
and he was very keen to shoot it that year in December. So it was like, okay. So we, we sort of hastily put that shoot together, which was like originally we did 2 days for video shop.
Hmm.
And then the next year we shot a lot more, we shot some more stuff in the video shop, and then we shot things like your intros and Obviously I shot all of Mary and a lot of the fake films that I did for it, sort of the trailers and stuff, like what came the next year. But yeah, it, it's weird to think back now, like, how it came about, and then because Video Shop is such a huge part of my life, and particularly like Video Shop 2. So it's weird to, just to think back. It was just this thing where Lau was just like, do you fancy doing it?
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, yeah, yeah.
So to carry on, I've got a kitten going through a bin, so I'm just going to
Okay.
remove her. So here it's the boy one. Out, come on. Oh, you want to say hello, and then you need to leave the bin alone. He's the one who's usually well behaved and is being a demon. Say hi.
Uh,
He's like,
oh,
no,
thank
I'm not. I'm going
you.
back to the bin.
We have a really naughty cat that just like scratches
Scratches.
everything, like to get our attention.
Yeah, mine. He's actually the well-behaved one, and the girl
Right.
one though, she looks really innocent, and she's like so naughty. Like in the morning, if she wants feeding, she doesn't like. She just starts attacking things she doesn't usually attack. So things around the bed, she's like, I'm going to attack this plant that's going to wake you up, or I'm going to attack this light that's above your head. She doesn't
Yeah.
touch those things at any other time of day. It's just to get me out of bed. And I'll kind of knock her off, and then she'll jump back on the other side. And then it's like until I get off, and then she'll just run to the kitchen. She's like, haha, I win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Told you.
Yeah. So
Steve.
yeah. So back to Video Shop. So the Video Shop one, there was a lot of the shooting took place at Romford within the Mercury.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
there was Free Sprite Studios,
Yeah.
and then just various locations for people's like individual
Yeah.
companies.
Quite a lot of it. As you say, we shot in Romford, and then like for example, like Mary, the all the stuff inside the shed. The shed is a set, so that's in Free Sprite, and Free Sprite is a studio locally that's run by Duncan, and he's really like filmmaker friendly, and he's helped a lot of us out. He's been a massive help to me. I've shot a lot of stuff. A lot of Mosaic is shot there. A lot of Video Shop 2 is shot there as well. And then yeah, with Mary, so that basically everything that's interior inside the sort of shed is a set, and then everything that's exterior is in Max's garden because it's meant to be a garden, so
Yeah.
it's fine. Uh, and yeah, Video Shop is a bit of a mix, but like we shot most of it, with the first Video Shop as well. Like obviously, I did Mary and I did the wraparound, but the wraparound, comparative to the second film is a lot shorter. So, I sort of worked out with Video Shop 2 how much of it we shot compared to Video Shop 3, as Video Shop 1.
Yeah.
Three. Video Shop 1, and it is significantly more. But yeah, but a lot of Video Shop 1 was filmed in the Mercury because Tom's segment was
Yeah.
filmed there.
Yeah.
Most of Michael Fausti's segment is shot there as well, and all of Chow Handy's segment is shot there. So a
Apart
lot
from the bit outside, because
apart from that
we went
bit.
and shot in this park, and there was all these dried leaves, and I was just more worried that I was going to get spidered.
Yeah.
It was like spider season, and I'm like, well, I'm on the floor.
Oh, all the horror stuff you do and you're worried
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, do you know? So Video Shop 2, I'm going to tell the little story. Video Shop 2 is actually where I met my partner. But I didn't really talk to him on set that day, other than the scene. I didn't like nothing happened till like a year later. But when he actually came down to Romford, he'd booked an Airbnb. Has he told you this? He
No.
booked an Airbnb the night before so that he could be on set in the morning. And he got there and he was like, the woman firstly, she was like, are you coming in or what? And he went in. He was yeah, that was like he was a bit like, well, she's a bit rude. And he thought maybe that's what they're like down south because people tend to be friendlier in the northeast.
Yeah.
So anyway, he went in and then she was like, your room's over there. There's like, kettle, whatever in the kitchen. And he noticed there's another room with like a blue light under the door. So he was like, what is this? Like, and he works in the police and he was like, is this something dodgy going on here? Like I shouldn't. Anyway, the next day he asked and she was like, oh, come and have a look. He goes in And apparently it's like floor to ceiling of these like, I don't know what you call them, like vivariums full of different tarantulas. And I was
Ah.
like, oh my God. And he doesn't like spiders either. Like he can deal with them, but not like wouldn't want to be in a house full of tarantulas. I was like, oh, you did well then. I'd have probably slept in the car. I'd have, well, I don't know. Yeah, I'd have been like, you know what, my car is safer. There's no spiders in there. So that would have been me. But yeah, that
If
actually
he
happened
found
too.
out the night before, he just wouldn't have slept.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But well, yeah, so he slept and he's lived to tell the tale. So, it's a fun story to tell. I actually don't
Yeah.
think I'm as scared of tarantulas as I am of like normal spiders because I don't think they move quite so quickly. I don't like I've never held one. I feel like I might be able to hold one. Like on like I don't know, I think they're more like a creature than
Mm.
like they're not and you can see them. They're not like spindly and they hide away.
You'd be able to see where it had gone if it ran
Yeah,
away as
like they
well.
don't like they're not scuttly, are they? Like the ninja spiders we get here, like the house spiders. They're like fast and scuttly.
Yeah.
See, spiders don't bother me at all,
Oh.
but snakes is my
Yeah, yeah.
See, I
yeah.
don't mind snakes. Like, obviously, I wouldn't want to be up against a poisonous snake or one that's literally going to constrict me. But if it's someone's pet snake and they're like, here, hold my snake, I'm cool with that. Like
Yeah.
snakes, lizards, rats, anything, just anything but spiders, really, or bugs in general. I don't like, but definitely
I think
spiders.
I have like an irrational phobia of adders because I'm like, if grass is slightly, slightly too long, I'm like, I'm not going near that grass. There might be an adder in there. There are quite a lot of adders, like near, like we live near. Well,
Have you ever had an adder encounter though?
well,
Yeah.
yes,
Where are
I
the
have.
adders?
They're more so like there's, wherever there's like sort of rural areas around here. So like where you take the dogs, like to like Tewkesbury Island and all that, where we
I've
filmed a bit of
never
like,
been there. I've seen an adder in Epping Forest, though.
There you
yeah, I don't
go.
know.
They're everywhere. Should be
And
a
But
I
how
thing.
do
used
you
to.
know, like, yeah, but it could be, well, I've seen an adder or a grass snake. I wasn't close enough to like have a look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have when I had an allotment, like I used to get spooked all the time because you get a lot of slow worms, and I'm fine with slow worms when I realize it's a slow worm. But so many times you lift a tarp and there's like a slow worm, and I used to, I mean, the old men that were around me used to probably think, oh, what an idiot, because
But
I
what's
used to
the difference? A slow worm's a
freak.
lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, slow. I mean, slow
Legs,
worm
yeah.
isn't. Yeah, it isn't a snake, is it?
It's a
So,
lizard. But
and
they
I,
have like, not got legs.
that's right. Yeah,
They're
yeah,
legless
yeah.
lizards.
Lizards.
Oh.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're fine, and they're just very scared. But like,
And so
yeah,
they don't have like the snaky tongue. Is that what the problem is?
do they? I think they
I think you do the
do. I
Oh,
think
do
sneaky
they
they?
tongue.
do.
Or maybe not
But
the fangs.
I guess it's
Yeah.
yeah, no, and I guess it's just because I know what they are, and I know that like I think it's more sort of specifically because like of adders, and I think like because I used to spend a lot of time when I was a kid. Um, my dad's sort of ex-wife, her parents owned like what would you call it, like a
Yeah.
stables, and that's in Thundersley, which is quite a rural sort of little area. So it was always sort of in the woods there, or going around, and there was like always, and oh, and as well, like adders and stuff. They tend to like in the dung heap. They tend to lay
Yeah.
eggs and things, and that. So there was always like this thing, and I think it just like it freaked me out as a kid, and now I'm.
I think for your next one, we should have some snakes in it for exposure
No, I mean
therapy.
I literally got snake for horoscopes too,
Oh.
and I made it the like least snaky, scary thing I possibly could. I made it like a cartoon with people in it because
I
I
also
really do.
remember now the picketing, you going, oh, I had to get snake.
Yeah, yeah.
I would be happy to be covered in snakes in any of your films.
There you go.
I just wouldn't be able to be. I'd have to do it remotely
Point the camera and get someone else to
Yeah.
press
and
record.
run.
So, Video Shop 1 premiered at Horror on Sea in last year, 2023.
20,
24. Oh my
20.
God,
No,
what year
no,
are we in?
it was 23. It was
Was it
23.
23? Was it not last year?
No, that was Mosaic because we
Ah,
Mosaic ended up coming out after, even though it was made before.
right. So 2023, and that was another sellout, and they actually put on a second room. So
Yeah.
it filled one screen, and then they had a smaller screen, which is again incredible. And then Video Shop 2.
Yes, Video Shop too.
Video Shop 2. Who came up with Lust and Revenge?
that was Lau. I can't remember why. We were talking about subtitles. Because we'd come up with Video Shop Tales of Terror, the title together, because there were a few other things, and it was sort of
Mm.
like we had three that we liked, and we just chose that one. But I know that he said Lust and Revenge, and then we sort of worked backwards from that, really. Like, but I couldn't tell you why. Um, and
And
then it was
Hannah
sort of
plays
like,
a character called Clara, who is, well, she was the proprietor in
Yeah,
all
she
the
gets
ones.
tricked into
So she
becoming the
worked
proprietor.
in the video shop and then she becomes this proprietor.
Yeah. And she's not a big fan of working in the video dungeon, in the
I
video
don't
shop.
think she's a fan of working at all,
I
Clara.
mean, no,
I
no.
feel like
Yeah,
Clara would like to have her feet up and,
yeah.
you know.
Like I think that's a big something I drew from in real life. Yeah, no, so she's in the first one and she gets tricked into working in the video dungeon because they say she can work off her fine. But then it's actually a lot more sinister than that. And then in the second one, she's the proprietor of the video dungeon and it's all gone to bit to hell. So
Yeah. It's super fun though, because I like how we've seen her character develop
yeah,
through both the films, and obviously she'll be going in. And then obviously I can't give anything away as what happens at the end because you'll need to watch it. But yeah, I'm interested to see how she will come back
yeah, me too.
in the third
if
installment.
if she comes back.
If she
Yeah.
comes back, because she got to
Yeah.
behave. But
Well,
Yeah.
no, no, I think there's, well, I don't want to go into spoilers for the second one, but
yeah,
yeah.
that's it. We can't give away spoilers, so we can't say too much about the second one. The first one is out, so you can watch the first one on Prime.
Prime, yes, Amazon Prime, Tubi in America, and you can buy it on DVD or Blu-ray from us or from the Video Dungeon shop.
Yeah, if send me all the links, and I'm gonna do like a
Cool.
end screen thing with all the links where people can find everything, or the social media and everything else. But yes, you can get the Blu-ray. Is there any of the limited edition ones left that had the posters and all
Th-
those bits, or are they gone?
there's only a couple left, so if you want that, get in there because
I have
yeah,
to look
after
through.
they're sold, it's just going to be the standard Blu-ray and then the DVD
Which
that
is
we
a
sell.
different cover. So the one, what
Yes.
did I see at Horror on Sea this year? There was the one with the first poster.
Oh yeah, the DVD has the Simon Pritchard
Yes.
uh, picture,
Okay. Yeah.
and then the Blu-ray has uh the Mark's
Do it.
like poster as well.
Did he do the second one as well? Video Shop
No,
2?
that
No?
no, we went with someone new, so we got Uncle Frank who has
Oh,
done the
cool.
Terrifier posters.
Right.
I think the idea with the poster is to get someone new each time, sort of
Yeah.
to sort of represent the different flavor of the film, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really cool then, because you're not just bringing in filmmakers and actors, and you're bringing in artists and things as
Yeah,
well. And I love
yeah,
that with like old horror films that all of the covers were like paintings.
yeah. Same.
And
Like,
now it's easy to like get some pictures of people, the cast, and like Photoshop them together. But yeah, to get an artist to actually do it, I know it costs more, and that's why people don't do it, but it is incredible to have those kind of real like artistic.
yeah, it's lovely when you do get like a really nice poster now, because as you say, like a lot of them, like if it's a Marvel film, it's just like all the actors, isn't it, just bunged
Yeah.
up on there
Who
and
haven't
stuff.
even been in a room together.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's lovely when you actually get proper
Yeah.
art that you could actually put on your wall and be like, oh, that's a really cool poster.
The
Yeah.
one for
They are really cool posters.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
definitely embody that kind of 80s vibe. And the soundtrack as well is
Oh, yeah.
incredible. Like for both of them, the soundtrack has been so good. It's like the film's very 80s. Obviously, the video shop, the 80s was kind of the big video shop era, wasn't it? And it's kind of the whole of the film and the whole world has like this 80s kind of vibe. But
Yeah.
yeah, the score is incredible.
Yeah.
yeah.
Craigus, who's done the wraparound for both of them, is just like a genius. And he's obviously, he does that and then he does the stuff he does with like Tom and with Sam
Mm.
Mason Bell that's really different as well. He's like insanely talented.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really, really good. And then I've heard Video Shop 3. Well, so when I spoke to you at Horror on Sea, and I said, so what's happening with Video Shop 3? And you said you've got other projects, but now you've started writing. So it took you less than a week to like,
I think there's like this there's been this like ongoing thing with me, which was particularly last year, which was like Video Shop 2 had become like such a big thing and sort of
kind of
stress
all consuming, right?
all
Because it's
consuming.
taken
That's fair.
a
Yeah,
few
that's
years to do.
yeah, that I kind of just didn't want to think about Video Shop
Mhm.
3. But then it's done, Video Shop 2's done and it screens and the reaction's positive.
Yeah.
And I just start thinking about all those ideas I had for the third one, and it just sort of starts coming in. And the thing is like, I am looking at what the next feature thing will be as well.
Mm.
But it's always about which one flows first, and I think at the moment that's Video Shop 3.
Yeah.
And what's nice about what video, without going into it too much, is Video Shop 3 will be in a way like an ending to a lot of the stuff we've done, I
Mm.
think. There will be like a real sense of an ending. So it's quite nice to sort of think about like wrapping a lot of that stuff up before I
Mm.
go on to the next thing, perhaps. And I think we've got like a great opportunity to make something really interesting.
Yeah. So I think Video Shop 1 was there 6 segments from
Yeah,
other directors. Well, I know you did Mary Whitehouse. And then Video Shop 2, was there just 4?
yeah.
Wasn't it?
It's for
4.
this time.
4, but
Yes.
with a lot of kind of fake trailers and very kind of 80s-esque stuff. And I think there's a lot of kind of there's a lot of people kind of from, other films that kind of screen around horror. So we've kind of everyone's been pulled in to like do a piece. So like I feel like if anyone watches the film and they've seen like any of those other people's films, they'll be like, oh, that's that person popped up in that. Like, and I
Yeah.
I love that. And I suppose that's how it kind of works anyway for
It's kind of like because in some ways you could kind of call it like Horror on Sea the movie because it was born out of Horror on Sea,
yeah.
and it kind of has that like sort of Horror on Sea community spirit to it. And
Mhm.
I think the first one obviously it was a lot about the sort of you had this kind of 6 filmmakers, and it happened to be that those 6 filmmakers had fairly prominent films in the 2020 festival,
Mm.
and which was the festival it was kind of born out of, so it really makes sense. I think this one is just like we just thrown so much in there, and
Yeah.
you've got people that are attendees of Horror on Sea that come in and
Yeah.
they've got like a 5-second cameo, and you've got
Mhm.
people with huge roles, and but yeah, for me it was just about with Video Shop 2, it's sort of taking that sort of spirit and kind of turning it into a film, and almost trying to make a more cohesive film in a way where you're sort of blurring the lines of where the segment starts and the film,
Right.
the wrapper ends,
Oh,
and
okay.
just expanding that as well.
That's cool. Because I do feel like Video Shop 2 had so much in it. Like I was like, I felt like it took me a while to unpack everything that I've seen because it's like, and I said to people like, oh, how many of the segments are you in? And I was like, I'm not in it very much. And I didn't think I forgot how much I'd actually filmed. So
Yeah.
well, I'm in the wraparound and I've done the horror hosting and then I've done like another couple of bits, but because it's been over so long, I forget what I've done for what film and like, where I've been. And then when I was watching, I was like, oh, I forgot about that bit. And then somebody said to me, I think it was Cy Henty, he was like, oh, I was talking about that Italian scene we did. And I was like, I didn't do an Italian scene. I
Yeah.
don't think there was one. And then I was like, oh, I remember that now.
Yeah, and I think it's all sort of threaded through, isn't it? So you kind of
Yeah,
like
so I
end
didn't
up being in
realize I'd done so much for it, but it was still, even though I seem to have done a lot more in it than I thought, there was still so much to see that I didn't have a clue about. And
it.
I think I
Yeah.
was more excited about watching this one because I didn't know as much.
Yeah.
Like I was
Yeah.
like, it was going to be a surprise to me too. And even the bits that I was in were a surprise to me because clearly I've got a brain like I do.
Like I'm in so much of the wraparound, and there are bits that I don't even remember. Like,
No,
oh, it was there because, like you said, because it was over the
yeah,
course
like I
of.
was there because I can see it, but I don't.
Like, I literally have no memory of this.
Yeah, and
Like,
then it kind of does ring a bell when I see it. I'm like, oh, I kind of vaguely do remember that. But
yeah,
I always think I've got quite a good memory. But I feel like with filming, especially when you're busy and you do something, and then once you've done it, you forget the script, you forget about it, and then it's like until it, materializes on screen.
yeah,
I think sometimes with like, particularly over the last couple of years with some of our stuff, we've done days where we've been shooting on
Yeah.
different films on the same day. So I think that
Yeah.
stuff really blurs together because I mean, I remember when I was doing Leo for Maiko's first horoscopes, that was
Mm.
the same day we had you in, and I was doing the
Yes.
horror hostess stuff. So you were kind of there with I can't remember if it was the Kurt day or the Tony day, but one of the two with them being like a lion and probably thinking, what the fuck is all this?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's two different films. I think because I was involved in horoscopes, I knew what you were
Sure,
doing.
sure.
But yeah, I knew what was happening. But yeah, it's kind of madness. And I did the same with Fausti, because when we were filming Vergessen, we were also filming bits of Burnt Flowers.
Yeah,
It was like you're doing two things in the one location,
yeah,
trying to remember who you are and what you're doing.
yeah. It was that basically like for me is like encapsulates video shop too because like so many of the shoots were just like particularly because I did so many trailers in this one, so we were doing like like a couple of hours of sort of gangster trailer, and then we would have like the video dungeon back up and Size being a zombie and stuff, and then we're in a dojo
Yeah.
doing karate stuff, and it's all like the same weekend, and it was like maddening
Yeah.
really, but it was great. But yeah, sort of I guess it just represents that kind of huge variety and like weird shifts that we have in that film,
That's
and
what I like about it
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
So Hannah, you're involved in some of the writing on Video Shop too. Are you going to be going into any directing?
though. So I directed one of the trailers
What did
in
you?
Video Shop 2. There's it's a very serious film about a pancake. It's the Amityville pancake.
The Amityville Pancake.
And that was fun actually. That was my first time I'd done any directing. Yeah, I think it went okay. And yeah, no, I do a bit of writing, but I'd like to direct maybe like a short or something one day, but
Mm.
just
So
find
what do you think
it.
your involvement in Video Shop 3 will be? Do you think you'll continue doing writing and like working alongside Alex?
Yeah, I think so. See
Another
what I can do.
trailer's definitely on the horizon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, another trailer. Yeah, and I like helping with the writing, and we like write together sometimes, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And your
Hannah,
little dog was in the film. It's popped up.
yes. Yeah. Masha's sort of managed to, she's here actually.
Oh,
Oh, Mash.
why? She was like camouflaged in your lap.
Yeah, she's been here the whole time because, like, if we have her in the other room and she hears us talking to somebody, she'll be like, "Whoa!" So, but if she's in here, she's like, "It's fine."
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I think she's been in everything since we've had her now
Yeah.
because we even kind of got her into Mosaic. She's actually in the bit the Sandcastles bit of Mosaic because it starts with a montage of Southend basically, or Mellow Coast as we call Southend in our films. And we got a shot of her running along the beach. So she even got into Mosaic even though we shot most of that before we had her.
So that dog poo.
Oh.
No,
That
it was made out of Snickers, I know.
yes, it was because it was very it was
Yeah.
it was very runny, wasn't it?
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
It was, yes. So I'm going to leave everybody with that. I'm going to have to wait for the Mosaic release, and obviously, like I said, I'm going to put all the details away. You're going to be able to get hold of anything to his films at the end, so make sure you keep track of all of that. Thank you both so much for coming on.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
I'll have
having
to
us.
have you back. I feel like I can talk to you for ages about all because we've literally covered all the stuff we've done, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like I want to delve into like more of your like horror, backgrounds, and we're out of
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
So I'll have
To
to
do
come back
part
another
two
day.
down the line. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Yes.
That'd be
Well,
great.
enjoy your weekend.
And you.